Finding Me was supposed to be about... Honestly, I think the movie should be called Finding a New Man. I wasn't expecting anything less from Funke Akindele. For me, I don't know, this is the first time I'm seeing Akindele in a movie, and I'm feeling like one thing I jotted down while watching this movie is Femi Adebayo, the act, I beg. When they say 11:59th miracle, that was exactly when Atinuke found. Next time, if you're going to name a movie Finding Me, it should actually be about finding me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nollywood Insiders. It is always a pleasure to be here. My name is New Heaven Abraham, and today we are reviewing the movie Finding Me. Did she really find herself? Well, we'll know during the course of this video. Finding Me is currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video, and it is directed by the phenomenal Funke Akindele and co-directed by Isioma Osaje of the movie Japa. The storyline talks about the life of a young woman who is married to a narcissist, basically a man who would deceive her into believing that he loves her only when he needs something from her. He would talk down on her, tell her how she doesn't look good, talk down on her dressing, her body type, and make her feel so less of herself. And then you are watching this movie thinking she would eventually come to her senses, but no, she wants to make the marriage work. She believes that this man actually loves her, and it's just a roller coaster of emotions. You know, when you see her go through something and then you think, oh, this is when she will realize that she finally deserves better. But no, she goes back to that narcissist of a husband. And then he talks about investing in smaller businesses. She eventually finds someone, and it cuts across the topic of scam. It's basically a lot of things combined, but we'll delve into it as the video goes on. Finding Me is a star-studded movie. We have quite a lot of Nollywood celebrities in it. We have likes of Funke Akindele, Joseph Benjamin, Efa Ewara. We have Femi Adebayo. We have Shafi Bello, Omaomi Dada, Omoni Oboli, Tina Mba. There are just so much of our faves in the movie Finding Me. Now let's get into their performances. Starting with the protagonist, who is Funke Akindele. She portrayed the role Atinuke. She is the main character in this movie, trying to find herself married to the wrongest man you could ever marry. And her performance was good. It was lovely. I wasn't expecting anything less from Funke Akindele. Thinking about the costume department for her during the initial course of the movie, it was just crazy. You know, the wigs, the attire, the makeup, the dirty nails, it was just really, really crazy. And that's a good one. It depicted the character she was trying to portray, and that's well done to the costume. Lovely performance from Funke Akindele. Talking about her narcissist of a husband, who is Joseph Benjamin, he played the role Kola. Kola is the weapon fashioned against Atinuke. But he nailed his role. I love what he did in the first scene. It was so beautiful to watch. It was captivating. And you know, one thing about movies is that the first scene says a lot about whether your audience should continue or not. And the first thing just came, and I'm like, yes, I need to see this movie. It was a lovely idea for the movie. Let's talk about the performance of Femi Adebayo. He played the role Dotun. Dotun is the brother to Atinuke. I must say, I was surprised to see him in this movie, especially with the role that he was given. His character is the elder brother who is so uneducated, insecure, wants to be the first son to take over things and not his sister. And honestly, when I was watching the movie, I thought of him in Jagun Jagun and all of those Yoruba epic movies, how powerful, how great he was. And it was just so surprising to see him as the son who is trying to, who speaks bad English. But guess what? He nailed his role to my shock. Because I didn't know he was going to be able to, kill that character, but he did. And it shows how professional he is at what he does. Well done. Good job. Well done, Femi Adebayo. Let's talk about Chief Olowo, played by the phenomenal Dele Odule. He is the father to Atinuke and Dotun, and he's supposed to be the man who owns the billion naira business, steel business. He did a good job. I don't understand how he's able to be the CEO or the owner of such a business and he's so uneducated as he was in this movie. But anything is possible though. For his character, it was a good job, well done. Nothing special, nothing below the belt, just an average performance. Shafi Bello. Shafi Bello was the wife to Chief Olowo, Mrs. Yabo. For me, I don't know, this is the first time I'm seeing Shafi Bello in a movie and I'm feeling like, she played her role very, very well. I just don't think at this level of her career, she should be someone they would call for such a role. The role was so insignificant and I don't think Shafi Bello's, I don't know. For me, I feel like if I was Shafi Bello, I would not take the job. It was insignificant and we didn't see Shafi Bello. She was like that background wife who is just begging, please my husband, please my son. It wasn't really giving me Shafi Bello's vibe and I wish they had casted someone else. I feel like she deserved a better role if she was ever going to be casted in this movie. But overall, it's a good job, well done. Of course, the role is not anything special, so trust Shafi Bello to kill her role, as always. Talking about Omoni Oboli, she's a phenomenal movie maker in Nollywood. She played the character Sarah. Sarah is a friend to Atinuke. There were some times in the movie where she was called Sandra, sometimes she was called Sarah. So I was wondering, what exactly is this character's name? I know that the two names sound familiar, but there should be clarity to the names so that we don't realize that this is a movie. But overall, Omoni Oboli did a great job. I was not expecting anything less. You could feel the emotions, you could feel the disappointment, you could feel her in the character. And if she had felt my hand in this movie, it would have been a disaster because Omoni Oboli, of course, she is one of the people who we know in the Nollywood industry to be a familiar face for a very long time. It was a good job, well done. I wasn't expecting anything less. Tina played the role of Mama Ndidi. In the movie, she was known as Mama Breast Cancer. She's the scammer, the mother in the scamming business. She's a woman who pretends to have breast cancer so that, you give her money and stuff like that. She did a good job. The scene where she was talking to her son Ifeanyi and Efaiwa walked in, the way the words dropped, I can't remember the exact word, but it was really, really phenomenal and very funny. It was a beautiful scene to watch. So well done, Tina Umba. It was a good job. Dakore Akande, she played the role Ibiere in this movie, the sister to Anthony. And one of the things I love about her character is the fact that she gave us different vibes. She's giving the head of the market woman, she speaks good English, and then she's giving the ghetto vibe, like on a ghetto level. She told Anthony, remember where we came from, remember our roots. And then thirdly, she's speaking her local dialect. It was just a beautiful blend, and that goes to tell how professional and how she's really, really good at what she does. Well done, Dakore. I expected absolutely nothing less. So the movie had other cast members who were phenomenal and they did such a good job. People like Sharon Oja, who played the role Rebecca, Omaomi Dada, who is in Didi, Ifeanyi, played by Emeka Nwabarocha. Actually, the Ifeanyi scene is my favorite, where he exposed his sister and the entire family. You need to watch that scene. You need to watch this movie. It's actually my favorite. You need to see how this guy Ifeanyi is more like the black sheep of the family. So the family was planning to travel abroad and then he did something that made them very angry. They decided to go without him. Guess what? He decided to expose them to the entire world. Ifeanyi's performance on that scene was very, very phenomenal. Well done. This movie is a star-studded one, trust me. So if you've seen this movie, Finding Me, who was your favorite character? Mine was Ifeanyi, especially for the scene that I mentioned earlier. It was like the highlight of the entire movie for me. I could relate so much to the acting. You see, I'm even laughing thinking about it to show you how much he put into that scene. That was my favorite character. Who was your favorite character? Would like to know. The movie Finding Me was supposed to be about Atinuke finding herself. First things first, the movie is a 2-hour, 35-minute movie. I was watching 1 hour, 2 hour, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Atinuke has not still found herself. And I'm wondering, when is she going to eventually find this me that the movie said she would? Guess what? When they say 11:59th miracle, that was exactly when Atinuke found herself, which I don't even think is finding herself. The movie tries to make it look like that was when she did. I felt like she should have found herself earlier and then take us through the range of therapy, of growth, of development, of, making the right decisions towards the end of the movie. But no, we saw her being dumb at every single time that, you would expect, okay, so this one that happened is eventually what would make her realize that, oh, I need to work on myself. But no, she fell for it every single time. And also, I have a problem with the fact that the movie is trying to indicate that if you want to find yourself as a woman, you'd have to find a man. Honestly, I think the movie should be called Finding a New Man. She has been talked down on over the years. She has felt so bad about herself. She looks at herself in the mirror and she's not happy with what she's seeing. Then the movie makes it seem like she had to find Anthony. Anthony had to talk her into changing her dressing, changing her hairstyle. It wasn't something that she felt the need for. Anthony was saying you are beautiful, saying in the mirror, I'm like, what's this? Like, who is Anthony supposed to be? The thing is, people watch movies and most of the times people are in this position presently. For instance, a woman who is married to a narcissist who is going through a lot in her marriage, she's seeing this movie and she's seeing something more like a reflection of herself. And at some point, she's going to want to eventually see how this person she's watching was able to go through this process and come out victoriously. Guess what? This movie would tell you as a woman who is in a bad marriage that you have to find another man, and not just find another man, you'd have to sleep with him whilst in your marriage to find yourself. How? That's what this movie is teaching women if you are in that position. And I don't think the story writers did a good job about that. Finding me should be about a personal process. If I want to find myself as a woman, it should be about me, therapy, reading books, hanging around people that adds to my life, just my personal journey as a woman. I don't need to find a man to eventually find myself. But the movie, no. In fact, the kiss between Atinuke and Anthony was where I felt like this movie should just end, because I was expecting the story writers to make it in such a way that these are two friends who are broken and they get to maintain the friendship and help each other. The romance aspect was not necessary. You are teaching the people that as a married woman whose husband is cheating, it's good for you to go out there and sleep with anybody. It wasn't adding up for me. They should have just been friends. And guess what? We, the viewers, will be the ones rooting for them to eventually end up together in the movie. The kiss, the sex was not necessary. It was just out of it. For me. It was a good thing to watch, listening to Omaomi Dada, who we all know is a Yoruba lady, speak Igbo in a movie. I was surprised, not once, not twice. I'm like, she really went to her drawing board to learn the Igbo language well for the role. It's safer to say that her name is Ndidi, which is an Igbo word, and she ends up not speaking any Igbo language. It's safer, but I like the fact that she went to the point of translating her script or her lines, some of the words in Igbo, to make it sink in with the name and the character. It was lovely to watch. There was a scene where Dotun's voice was not voicing. I don't know, on sets, there is usually someone with the headphones listening to all the audios, and if there's a problem, they will cut the scene and then try to fix the problem, because I have been on a movie set and I know what it looks like. I don't know what happened, but was it that the sound man or the sound lady wasn't on set that day? Because Dotun's voice was sounding like someone who wasn't clear, it wasn't sounding clear, and nothing was done about it. I think that's one of the production's oversights. I was struggling to hear him, but aside from that, every other scene, the sound was clear. Before we continue, have you liked this video? Have you subscribed to the channel? Why don't you join the community? Do well to like, to subscribe, and to share. Now let's go back to the video. I must applaud the soundtrack. It was lovely, especially at the kissing scene between Atinuke and Anthony. The soundtrack helped us to, understand when Sandra barged in and stuff like that. It was a beautiful one. I literally had to go back and rewatch that scene. The soundtrack people did a great job. Always seek a second opinion. That is one of the lessons that we learned from this movie, Finding Me. Always seek a second opinion. It is very, very important. Atinuke was diagnosed wrongly. In fact, she was lied to, and she just went on believing for so many years that she had a disease. But then, guess what? It was all a lie. Always seek a second opinion. Even if the doctor says, I am so sure, I am 100% accurate that you have this or you have that, always seek a second opinion. Most times people can lie, or sometimes the equipment they use for these tests might bring a result that is something different and, lead you to years and years of pain and regret and prayers that sometimes isn't actually necessary. Always seek a second opinion. Towards the end of the movie, Atinuke was kicked in the tummy twice, like kicked, literally kicked out of anger. Kola had beaten her, thrown her to the ground, kicked her belly twice. I was expecting that she would lose that pregnancy. I don't know how realistic it is to be bleeding, as in she was literally bleeding. She was hot. She was in pain. It's not like it's something that happened just once and that was it. No, it was really crazy to watch for a pregnant woman. I didn't believe that pregnancy could still remain there. It could only be a miracle. The movie was rushed towards the end, and it is crazy because it is a 2 hour, 30 minutes plus movie. I don't understand how it could be rushed. I like the fact that there was a lot of conflict, problems upon problems. That is one thing I love to see in movies. It will keep us on our 10 toes. And guess what? The movie kept us on our 10 toes. Starting from the scene where Kola choked someone to almost dying, it kept us on our 10 toes, and all the conflicts, all the deceit and everything. I love that the movie gave us a lot of conflict, but you had 2 hours and 30 minutes to tell a story. Why did you still have to rush at the end? I don't know if they use rushing at the end to swear for Nollywood movies, because it is something that a lot of movies has in common and we can actually do better. One thing I jotted down while watching this movie is Femi Adebayo, the act. Abeg. I literally wrote Femi Adebayo, the act. Abeg. Femi Adebayo is phenomenal. I must say again that he nailed his role. Femi Adebayo, the act. Abeg. I can say that over and over again. It was one of the characters I loved so much. Every single time he appeared on that screen, he gave us 100% Dotun. That is phenomenal for me. One of the things I learned from this movie is that, see, if somebody is using you, don't lie to yourself. You see people that say, oh, I didn't know that he didn't love me. Oh, he has been using me. Oh, I just realized. It's a lie. When people use you, you're well aware. It's just that you shut your head out. Atinuke was in an abusive marriage and she was well aware. The only time my husband smiled was anytime she gave him money or assisted him in a certain way. And if this was a real life situation, she should not lie that she does not know. She's well aware. One of the things that the movie did not give us is a backstory to Atinuke. Why was she like that? Why did she like hairs like that, clothes like that? Why was she looking like that? Even though it was saying a total different thing from how she spoke. What was her drive to continue dressing and looking that way? We didn't get to find out. And the funny thing is that they had 2 hours, 30 something minutes to tell us all of the story, and they couldn't even remove about maybe 5 minutes to give us a backstory on the main character of this movie. It just really wasn't adding up. What were the police officers acting? The people that were chosen for this police officer role did not do a good job. I know it is not a significant role or a significant aspect of the movie because they weren't really doing so much. But the thing is, if you're going to be on screen, even if it's just one line, that line you should be able to, build on it and make sure that you deliver it with every originality as much as possible. I was not impressed with the police officers in this movie. You would know that they are first-time actors, and it didn't sit well with me. Self-respect, self-love, that's one of the things that this movie is trying to portray. Though they did not do it the way that they should, just like I talked about, it should be about personal development and not finding a new man who tells you, oh, you need to change your hair, oh, you need to. Atinuke changed her hair, changed her dress, changed her shoes, changed her bags, changed her nails, but she didn't really change herself. She didn't really change anything on the inside. It was more like changing looks. But finding me has a lot to do with the inside, what you think about yourself, what you feel about yourself, how you view yourself as a person, not the clothes you wear, or the hair, or the shoe, the bag, the nails. Those are just for people to see. What and how do you see yourself personally as a human being? That was one of the things I was expecting to see in this movie, but it was not there. Just told us that if you want to find yourself, just find a new man. Like I said, he's giving find a new man vibes. But all round, it's a good story, very funny. They have the funny scenes, especially Ifeanyi. And then there's the emotional scene, there's the conflict. It has a lot of things to it. There's the climax and stuff. Lastly, I was expecting that at the end of the movie, we should have maybe wedding pictures or a wedding between Atinuke and Anthony, or something that just tells us, oh, this was the outcome. But no, it just ends at the hospital scene. Nothing really serious. It looks like the end of the movie was the start of a new thing, which we didn't end up knowing. And it's really heartbreaking because the movie is for an entire 2 hours, 30 minutes. Like how did it end up ending like that? The end did not really end for me. So I don't know if there's going to be a part 2. I heard rumors that there is, but you couldn't tell it in 2 hours, 30 minutes. I think just leave it like that. My rating for the movie Finding Me is a solid 6/10 because, like I said, the movie Finding Me did not really find me, but the conflicts, the costume, storyline, all that comes with it, 6/10. Next time, if you're going to name a movie Finding Me, it should actually be about finding me, so that people who really want to find themselves watching this movie would have an accurate way of literally finding themselves. Watch the movie and then decide, oh, so this is what I need to do. From now onwards, I'm going to start reading, I'm going to start going to therapy. Just learn basically how to find themselves. The movie lacks that depth. 6/10.